Guys, welcome back to another guitar hang. It has been a while since we've done one of these, hasn't it? Probably going to rename it to something else like daily guitar, everyday guitar, because those things seem to do well in the algorithm, people playing every day. Not much playing today though, just yakking from Phil. Starting off, what have I been listening to? Literally just now, what I was listening to on the old hi-fi was the old Yngwie Rising Force. I had to just remind myself of the name of the album there. Good to listen to it on record. Give it the sense of gravitas that I think it deserves. I never really listened to Yngwie when I was younger. I liked him. I've got it. I understood what he was doing, but he's someone who the last few years, maybe this is being nearly 30. I've really gotten into him. Just the I think bombastic is the only word I can use to describe this album in particular. People talk about too many notes, no emotion, but there is definitely some heavy emotional intent behind the amount of notes that he plays on this album. So if you are a guitar fan of any genre, if you appreciate musicianship, if you play a different instrument and you appreciate musicianship, I recommend this album, at least the first side of it, to anyone. Just, there's definitely a flavour which you can't really find anywhere else, which is always worth, I think if something is a unique example of a certain musical flavour, it's worth listening to. Anyway, what else have we been up to? Let's get the notebook out. That's it. I've been reading Dave Mustaine's autobiography. I bought it in 2010. I've only just started reading it. Not much to write home about in there, really. It's a lot of the sort of usual, I guess it's the end of the noughties, similar to a lot of musical autobiographies that were ghostwritten at the time, where, it's just talking about drugs and relationships. There's very little about the music. There's about a whole 2 pages dedicated to Rust in Peace. So kind of disappointing on the music front, but otherwise an entertaining read. Now, Dave Mustaine is a good segue into my next topic, which is going to be about playing to your strengths. Dave Mustaine, for me, I think he's someone who sort of epitomizes, a guitar player that you wouldn't ask him to play any differently to the way he does. You wouldn't ask him to change his technique, diversify, his playing style, learn other genres, because then he wouldn't be Dave Mustaine and Megadeth wouldn't be Megadeth. He is someone he's an artist first and foremost before a guitar player, I would say. Even when you put his solos next to Marty Friedman's, they, occupy a place in the songs and hit you in a certain way that Marty's don't. And the two playing off against each other is what makes those, classic Megadeth albums great. So he's a good example of someone playing to their strengths, and it's something that I've tried to lean into a lot more, especially in the last year. Let's just take the example of lead playing, for instance. For me, playing legato stuff, that kind of pattern, I've been able to play that pattern probably about that fast since I was 13. And I never went down the rabbit hole of legato playing any further than being able to go. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to run it through scales or make up interesting lines with it, because I thought I needed to tick off all the boxes of other, this is some sort of perfectionism, neuroses thing that I've dealt with lots of things, but guitar particularly, I felt like there were certain boxes I had to tick before I was allowed to go deeper down the rabbit hole with certain other things. Whereas now, hopefully not too late, I'm realizing that if you find that something comes a bit easier to you than other things on the instrument, as long as you've got all your foundations worked out, you can play good rhythm, you've got a decent ear, you trust your own judgment enough to correct your own mistakes, I think it's really a good thing to do, to just mine the well of your potential for all it's worth, which in my case would be, say, like legato playing. An hour spent learning a new legato pattern will reap more reward than several weeks doing an alternate picking thing for me. Okay, so that's a new thing I'm trying to work on a lot. So there's a Richie Kotzen Hot Licks video, or it's called RAH video, which has a ton of patterns in it, which are really, if you slow the video down, you can digest them quite easily. You can see how they fit into major or minor scales. And then I've been chopping and changing them a bit. So maybe that's something I will work through in future videos. On the back burner, I will do other stuff. I will do alternate picking things. Obviously learning songs, you've got to keep learning your songs. But for example, I'm trying to learn the arpeggios from Eugene's Trick Bag, or the Paganini Fifth Caprice that Steve Vai does in Crossroads. I can't do it on this guitar right now because it's in drop C, but it's the pattern. If you ignore this first string, okay, meant to be a lot cleaner than that, but if I just practiced that until it was ready to go, you wouldn't hear me play anything else for about 3 years, So it's a good idea to have the stuff like that on the back burner and then just plow ahead with the things that come naturally to you. A few examples I could think: you wouldn't tell Alan Holdsworth to stop doing what he's doing and start playing like Yngwie, or Reb Beach, his tapping and stuff. He took what he was good at and took it to the nth degree. And you dabble in other stuff, but that's how you end up developing your own voice, is you become exceptional at the things that are, work with your psychology and your physical, your physical makeup, your hands, and the way your muscle memory works. So that is that. What else have we got? In a similar vein to that, this is less about technique and more about creative output. I think it's also beneficial to just go with what is coming easiest to you at the moment. And what I mean by that is not taking shortcuts or selling out or anything like that, but just leaning into the most sort of natural vein of creativity for you, which for me right now is learning, covers, or even just parts of covers that I can upload into videos. Because, in a few days I can pick a song that I enjoy, learn something new from it, some new technique or just a new feel, new rhythm, translate it into a video and upload it. And I'm doing that. It's no skin off my back. I'm learning, I put something out, it's great. Obviously the sort of romantic ideal is to create your own stuff, but for me, I don't feel like that comes naturally to me when I'm playing on my own. I want to be playing in a band context to create that sort of stuff. I'll come up with riffs on my own. Anytime you noodle on the guitar, you come up with something interesting and you can save that. But develop it into a fully fledged song, it doesn't feel like the easiest, obviously not easiest, but the most free-flowing expression of creativity for me right now. So it makes more sense for me to save that stuff for when I'm in a different setup. For you right now, you might be in a setting where it makes no sense for you to sit on your own and woodshed guitar playing. You might have a couple of friends who you can hang out with and you can just jam on one chord or some rhythm part and write a song in a week and then go perform it at the weekend. And you should do that, but when it feels right, if you're doing the right thing. So just listen to your intuition about what you should be doing with the instrument right now. Should it be studying theory? Should it be learning licks, learning songs, writing stuff, playing with other people? If something feels too difficult to even comprehend trying it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. But if, you instantly feel energized by the prospect of doing something, then I think that's a pretty good, guiding principle to go on. So other projects at the moment, like I said, I'm doing the covers. I'm learning this guitar's in drop C at the moment, and before I retune it to something a bit more manageable, I'm just learning a bunch of songs that I listened to when I was younger, but obviously I could never play them in the day. So what I'm doing at the moment is Are You Dead Yet by Children of Bodom, which is really cool. I mean, when you break down the fingerings, it's not tricky, but the speed of it is just like, it's just intense. So it's a really good track, that sort of thing. But the what is it? Playing that at speed, it's pretty severe. And then there's the core. Yeah. So rest in peace, Alexi Leho. Maybe tomorrow's video I'll actually just video me practicing that for a little bit. I want to get used to not just putting out stuff that I have finished working on, but just be comfortable sitting in front of the camera working on something, because I think people actually might be a bit more interested in seeing the process rather than the finished product. What else are we working on? I haven't forgotten the Metallica series. We're on like song number 6, we're just taking a break from it for a while, because inevitably I'll come back to listening to Metallica, but just got a bit tired of it, and I'm learning other stuff at the moment. And I mentioned the Richie Kotzen RAH Hot Licks. I'm thinking once I've gone through a bit more of that, I might start doing some videos breaking that down, because really he just blazes through the stuff on there and doesn't really break it down a lot, which is understandable, because I think they're trying to fit it on a VHS, single VHS, and I don't think I will even break down the theory behind it that much, but just walk through those patterns. So I think that'll be something good. And in a similar vein, I've got a bunch of guitar books, like instructional books or transcriptions and things, and I'll learn the odd thing from something, but I think it'll be an interesting exercise to actually pick a book and go through the whole thing and record videos breaking it down. So I've got a bunch of stuff I could do that with, or maybe I'll do it with a few simultaneously so we can switch books when we're bored. So one of them is a Jason Becker transcription book. I'll see how we get on with that. The other one is a beginner to intermediate jazz guitar method book, which I think will be really useful. And another one which I think would be fun to look at would be a Steve Cropper tab book. So the guy who did like the Stax record stuff with Otis Redding and Booker T and the MGs. And then we could throw in a slightly more esoteric one. I've got a bunch of these books, the Advancing Guitarist. Is it Jody Fisher? Or Jody Fisher might be the jazz one. I can't remember, I'll have to look it up. But it's all kind of, slightly bordering on new age. Isolate yourself to playing on these 2 strings and try and express this feeling with 2 fingers whilst playing this mode, that kind of thing. So lots of cool stuff to look forward to. We'll see how long we can keep this series going. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below, your thoughts and feelings. Let me know what you're learning at the moment, what you'd like to see more of on the channel. So till tomorrow, peace out.